So, what's louder? 212's or 118? Or maybe I should talk about what's better, 212's or 118. So 212's have 226 square inches of cone area. 118 has 254. Roughly 10% more for the 18. Remember, though, that the 212's are going to have twice the motor force per cone area size. Now, we're assuming we're talking about the same series. Today we're going to talk about the SDR. And we're also going to look at the ZVX from SCAR. So the same series, the SDR 12 versus the 18 SDR, and the ZVX version 212 and the ZVX version 18. Version 218. Okay. So when we talk about what's louder, we should maybe discuss more what's appropriate for your application. All things being equal, 212's with twice the motor force versus 118 is going to be so close if they're well-built subs. It'll be so close, you're really maybe not going to notice a difference between the two. I will say that the 12's, being twice the motor force, are probably going to be more efficient and probably have a little bit better bandwidth because you're going to have that extra motor force to push and pull on it. So, that being discussed, it depends. What do you want for your system? This part comes down to, what do you want to tune your system at? What do you want to do with your system? Do you want to make a wind machine that plays lows, 6th order? Do you want to do a ported? And today we're going to talk about, let's say you want to do ported. Most people like 33 hertz, so we're going to say ported at 33 hertz. And now we're going to look at these and determine what's best for that system setup, 212's or 118. So I'm going to go to the specifications here, and we're going to scroll down. This is the SDR12, and you can see that the FS is 32 hertz right here. That's where this sub likes to resonate in free air. It's 32 hertz. And we're going to look at the 18 real quick. And this sub likes 24 hertz. So the sub that likes 32 hertz, the 212's, are going to be a better application. Now, if you use the 18, it's not going to be terrible because it's not too far off, but it's not going to be as loud at 32 hertz because this wants to resonate lower. This would be great for making a wind machine if you want to tune in the mid-upper 20s. But even then, would it really? It's only 600 watts RMS. I don't know what kind of Xmax, see 13.5, so even then it really wouldn't be a good wind machine unless you had a lot of them, because you don't have a lot of displacement. So in this case, I would recommend the 12's. Now let's look at the ZVX. We'll look at the 12's first. And the FS on this is 51 hertz. That is very high. That's very different than the SDRs that we just looked at. So that's 51 hertz for the 12's. The 18 is 26 hertz. So if you're trying to do it to 33 hertz, you're trying to tune your box to 33 hertz. In this scenario, the 18 is probably going to be a better bet. Getting these 12's to tune that low, they'll do it. They have the motor force, they'll do it. But you're going to lose a little bit of dB. I've experienced this where I've tuned subs very far away from their FS, and they're just not as loud as subs that have an FS of that tuning. So I'd run a sub that had an FS of about 40 in a box that was tuned to 25, and it really just did not perform very well. I've also ran some subs that were mid-40s in a box that was tuned to like 32, and they did not perform very well either, versus subs that were tuned to like around low FS of 30s. They did really well in that box. And don't get me wrong, you can basically make your box however you want, and you can basically tell the subs what you want to do. They just won't perform quite as well as one that has an FS of around the box that you're building. So, if you were building a box and you wanted to make an old school tap out machine, and you're looking at 4 12s or 2 18s, and you want to tune at 45 hertz because you got a little car, these would definitely be much better than the 18, because these are tuned 51. You're going to be really close to the FS of the sub, versus these 18s, the FS is 26. So you'd want to go with the 12s in that scenario. Ultimately, if the FSs are very close, like we saw on the SDR, it was 32 and it was 26, 24. They're a lot closer. You're not going to notice as much of a difference. Really, an 18 versus 2 12s, not much of a difference. My personal choice, the 12s, if you've got the money, just because you're going to have a little bit more efficiency and a little bit better bandwidth because you're going to have more motor force. But if you don't have a lot of money, an 18, I love a classic 18 in like a car. I've always been that way. They're affordable and they're a lot of fun. Anyways, I hope this helped. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about something completely different. We're going to be discussing 3 12s versus 2 15s. And I know what you're thinking. We already discussed the FS. But the FS of an 18 versus a 12 typically is drastically different versus a 12 and 15. They're a lot closer. So we're not really going to bring FS into the discussion. And we're also not going to bring cone area into the discussion so much because they're so similar in cone area. We're going to actually talk about something else. What would make the breaking difference in that scenario? Hope you join me for that. And cheers.